What are the signs of domestic violence besides bruising and injuries? Would you know if your daughter, if your mother, if your sister was involved in domestic violence? That's today.
Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here.
Let's get it started in here.
Welcome to The View from a Pew, a conversation among Christians who are out to grow their faith by asking the simple questions, the tough questions, and the stuff you really wish your pastor would talk about. Come on now, let's reason together. It's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so join the conversation. Call 855-244-0077. That's 855-244-0077. Now, here's your host, J. Michael McCoy.
All right, good afternoon. 4 minutes after the hour on the 19th day of October in the Lord's year 2012. And if you're Jewish, it's 5773. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and this is the Friday edition of The View from a Pew. And Fridays are always 10-15% more fun. But we've got a gaggle of monkeys in the studio today, just a bunch of jokers, and we're talking about a serious issue. Amy, it's like I see no evil, do no evil, speak no evil over here.
We'll keep him in line. It'll be okay.
All right. And look at the British flag behind. Did you see that, Maddie?
Oh, yeah.
It's got the British flag.
It's the Ryder Cup all over again.
Oh, my,
the Olympics all over again.
All right. I don't know if any of you had the opportunity to catch the dinner last night in New York, which hosted both Barack Obama and Mitt Romney. If you haven't caught any of that, I hope you get a chance to go online and get some of the YouTubes. Mr. Romney was a little over 10 minutes. Mr. Obama a little over 9.
Did they have a food fight?
No, but it was hilarious.
It was very funny.
It was
That
hilarious.
would be funny if they had a food fight.
Yeah, no, they were both just a stitch. And my favorite line of the night. Well, I don't know. I've got a lot of favorite lines. Did you see it, Amy?
I saw parts of it, yeah.
Okay, did anybody else see it?
I watched it, yeah.
I think one of my favorite parts of the line last night was, Mitt is Governor Romney's middle name. I wish I could use my middle name. I love that.
I did see that.
And then the line that Romney said, you all got dressed up and cast away your jeans and your other pants and coats and came here all dressed up tonight. Governor Romney said, I think you should know that this is the way Ann and I dress around the house all the time. So it was just fun.
Good.
It was fun. And Mitt was very presidential. And I don't fear about what's going to happen to Obama after Romney wins. Because I think he's going to have his own Comedy Central show. Because he is just a comedian. That guy has the best writer for jokes I've ever heard. Man, he was good last night. All right, so we've got Maddie Smith. Yeah, this is Maddie. Can you believe it? He's here. Finally, he's here.
You were the one that wasn't here, man.
Yeah, that was it a couple of weeks.
I was here last Friday.
No, you weren't.
No, it was off.
I was here last Friday.
Oh,
he was not. I was not here 2 Fridays ago when
we
he
didn't
was
have
here.
a show last Friday.
Yeah, you didn't have a show last Friday.
But he was here sitting in there.
Oh yeah, that's
in
right.
the dark room.
That's right.
Unless
So
you were
was
just
it
doing
the Friday
what we
before? Oh yeah, it was the Friday before that I was gone.
Yeah, that you were gone.
And then
The Friday before that I was gone because my car battery was gone.
yeah.
So it's been a long time, mate.
Your car what?
The battery, mate.
Battery?
Flat battery.
Flat battery.
Which means a dead battery to everybody
Oh,
that speaks
flat means dead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dead battery.
English. In
Yeah.
British speak.
In British speak, yeah.
All right. So, and Bob Montserrat, the cat in the hat, watching the chat, and Army Brad in today. That's quite a flag there. I got to tell you, that's pretty neat there. And our special guest today is, of course, the lovely Amy Polpeter, who is a what are you? You're a forensic scientist.
Yes.
With the DCI lab.
Yep.
And your passion is the aid of women.
Yes, that'd be correct.
Is that a way of doing it?
That's
okay.
a good way to say it.
And we're gonna talk about an ugly subject today, but somebody's got to talk about this stuff. You can go to Channel 11 and listen to Big Bird all day long if you want, but here we talk about serious subjects. And today we're going to talk about do you know if your sister, mother, daughter, heaven forbid, someone of the male gender is involved in domestic violence? And we'll define domestic violence and go through that here in just a little bit. All right, but first you want to give a plug to a walk that's coming tomorrow. You've even got a T-shirt to share.
A good friend of mine is Deanne Pfluger, and she has a son who's 3, and he has spina bifida. And there is a walk tomorrow. It's the first annual Spina Bifida Association of Iowa walk and roll event.
Walk and roll?
Walk and roll.
Is that like drop, rock, and roll?
Sort of, yes.
Okay.
It's called that because most people with spina bifida are paralyzed from their waist down or have
Gotcha.
some amount of paralysis. So many of them are in wheelchairs.
Gotcha.
So it's at Principal Park. It starts, I think the walk starts at 10. You can be there at 8 or 9 to register. You can register at the event. You don't have to register ahead of time, although you can.
Show the T-shirt.
You can see, there we go.
Yeah.
You can see some of us will be wearing T-shirts like this, which are intentionally in Iowa State colors. That say, proud to be zipping for Zach. Zach
Okay.
is the name of her little boy.
There you go.
And
to
you'll
be
see us
zipping.
running around.
Okay.
But I think they did make up some in Iowa colors as well because she has some friends who refused to buy them in Iowa State colors.
Okay.
But it's just for a really good cause, a really good organization. They do a lot of helping people who have kids with spina bifida or people who have spina bifida themselves. With different needs that they have in their life. So it's a really good organization, and it'll be a fun time.
Well, the representative from the View from the Pew, Army Brad, will be there early to make sure that we're represented.
Okay, I'll be there.
He just found out he has that assignment now.
I didn't know it till now, but
Well, I
can
usually
walk.
give this stuff to Father Tattoo, but let's face it, he can't get out of bed before like 11 o'clock.
I'm going to be at a church work day.
Are you really?
Yeah, I really am.
What are you going to be doing?
We're taking all the air conditioners out of the windows in the classrooms and putting them into storage for the winter.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That is a shoe in your mouth. That is your foot in your mouth.
Okay. All right. Domestic violence. Define that for me.
You know, domestic violence can have a lot of definitions. Most people think of it as the stereotypical, you see the person on the news or the person on the TV show that has the black eye or the beat up face. And that is one form of it. Physical domestic violence is a form of it. But it can take emotional forms. It can take verbal, financial, and psychological forms.
So you could have verbal domestic violence,
Yes, you can.
and there's only words.
There's only words.
Okay.
Verbal and
I have a
emotional.
problem with that.
Verbal and emotional kind of go together, but yeah, there can be. And it's
I mean, I understand emotional abuse
sure.
or verbal abuse, but I don't know how words become violent.
I think for verbal domestic violence, it's basically verbal abuse in a domestic relationship.
Okay.
So that's where it falls under the domestic violence category.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
It's much harder to prove verbal domestic violence. I don't think you see it in court as often.
No.
But because it really comes down to he said, she said type situation.
Right. And if you're listening to this, don't think for 1 minute I'm questioning domestic violence. I'm old and I'm from Nebraska, and I'm having a tough time that words are violent. But anyway, we'll leave that there.
I could so say something right now.
Yeah,
Well, go ahead. I mean,
I was going to say, you should be well familiar with domestic violence if you're a Nebraska Huskers fan.
Well, she only knows about this because she's an Iowa State fan.
Yeah, okay.
Sure.
All right. So, without a doubt, and let's just break this down. Domestic violence is usually a man beating on a woman.
That's the
Usually,
stereotype.
that's the stereotype.
I reject that stereotype out of hand.
About 85%, according to the national statistics, about 85% of domestic violence victims are women.
Okay.
In Iowa, in 2006, of the reported cases, 81% were women and 19% were men,
So the women are tougher in Iowa.
apparently.
Well, they don't take so much lip.
Either that or nationally, there's
Men
less
are a
people
bunch of
reporting.
wussies.
Well, and
Or
we
the men
have-
are taking a bigger beating in
We
Iowa
also
than
have a couple different cross section. We have the same-sex relationship people. That actually there's
Yeah.
a lot of domestic violence in a lesbian relationship. And in the normal gay, not normal,
Homosexual,
but,
male-male
the
relationship.
male relationship. There's a lot of that present there too, and that's a
can.
cross section that's not accounted for there. So.
I did think it was interesting, though, when I looked up these statistics, they showed the statistics of the abusers. And 81% were male and 19% were female, which would fit right with it being just the opposite sex.
Yeah.
But that was in 2006, and I couldn't find more recent data. So I'm curious, now that we do have the same-sex marriage law and stuff like that, are those numbers
Sure.
still the same?
So, Dan, what you're telling me is that two women in a lesbian relationship, there is a heightened amount of domestic abuse.
I am saying from I have a friend who's a lesbian, and she has had several girlfriends beat her.
Okay.
And apparently it's not. Now, I don't know. This could just be her situation. I don't want to categorize them all. But in her situation, she's experienced it enough and met enough victims of the same thing that's happened. But I'm not saying that's a general rule. I'm just saying that cross-section exists. There are same-sex relationships that experience this that would reflect in those numbers.
All right. And you're a wonderful person at research. In most domestic violence cases, so we've already determined that we've got 100 domestic violent cases that we're looking at. Of those, is there a predominant characteristic, such as alcohol or drugs or religious differences or children, ex-boyfriends, second marriages, anything like that?
Not really that anyone talked about. Alcohol and drugs definitely can play a part in it. You can see that enhance the violence that happens in the relationship. All of the websites are very careful to say that is not an excuse. It's not an excuse for some guy, we'll use the stereotype, to say, well, man, I got drunk, so I beat my wife. That type of thing. A lot of, probably what is the most common factor that you're going to see is that the abuser is very much a control and power freak.
Okay.
They want to have all the control, all the power in the relationship. Like most other abuse situations, it's about power and control. And
Okay.
it's to an extreme form in domestic violence cases.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oftentimes they will cut off the victim from friends and family. They'll cut him off financially. There's all sorts of ways that they can impart their control without just physically beating the person. So
That's interesting.
they impart a lot of physical violence. And one of the reasons why I chose this topic for this particular day was because October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Oh.
But you hardly ever hear about it because everyone focuses on the fact that October is also Breast Cancer Awareness Month,
Yeah.
which is also a very good cause.
It's Rocktoberfest on 95 KGGO, too, so.
Well, there you go. So, that's one of the reasons why I thought it would be good to focus on it, is it doesn't always get as much attention as some of the other great causes that are out there.
I did like your radio voice there. You really brought
Did I
it.
kick in the radio
Yeah,
voice?
you kicked in.
Yeah, that
there.
was very good.
Okay. I don't know. I must be a bad guy because when I think of October, I think of Rocktober. So, all right.
Yeah, I wasn't aware it was either one of those months. It must be Zombie Awareness Month because we had the zombie walk.
Yeah,
I
think that goes along with Halloween.
I don't. Yeah, and there's the Halloween, the biggest commercial holiday month now.
When's the Tattoo Awareness Month?
They don't have one of those, Maddie.
I'm just
You
thinking
need to
out
start
loud.
one.
Yeah,
You can start- October's the month, mate.
there you go.
Amy Polpeter is our guest today. She is a forensic scientist with the state of Iowa, and she's kind of our Woodward and Bernstein when we want something researched from a factual standpoint, and I don't have to rely on Maddie going, well, just Google it. When we want real research.
Yeah, because Bob's not capable of.
Yeah, Bob's not capable of doing research.
No, Bob does a great job, but he's busy communicating with our friends that are our viewers.
Mostly Dan does that.
On the chat. Dan?
Yeah,
Thought
I
of
just got
tattoo?
renamed
Yeah.
Saint Tattoo.
Saint Tattoo.
I didn't get Bob.
So Amy always goes out and does such a good job to get us some of the statistics and things like that. When we come back from this break, more. Give me something we're going to take a look at when we come back.
One of the things I want to take a look at when we come back is a specific case of domestic violence in Iowa that received quite a bit of public attention, and I've seen the mother of that victim speak.
Okay.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about that case.
And if you'd like to know more about domestic violence, just as Maddie would say, just go and Google it. We're coming back live on 99.3 KTIA, Iowa.
the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershot.
I'm administrative manager.
I'm the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's gonna be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're gonna do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you gonna say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're gonna be listening. They're gonna wanna know what your challenges are. Then they're gonna come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me. But is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though. I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
Have you ever been told you're not a good enough Christian? Well, we have too. Join the conversation. Call 855-244-0077. Now here's your host, president of the Not a Good Enough Christian Club, J. Michael McCoy.
321 on the 19th day of October in the Lord's year 2012. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and I see now why my wife says I never smile. Because he turns the camera on early so I can see myself, and I don't smile. I don't know why. I'm happy. I'm joyful. I'm a fun-loving guy.
You're just happy inside.
We need to change.
I guess
We need to change that bumper though, because it just says you're the president of the Not a Good Enough Christian Club.
Yeah.
And we need to say the next president of the United States of America.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Yes.
I'm gonna have to fix that.
You haven't run the TV commercial yet, have you?
I'm not gonna run the TV commercial today. We're gonna redo it. We're gonna come out with your position on flip-flopping. It'll be great.
Okay.
I was going to say, did you see the thing on the news last night about the guy in Ames whose name is on the ballot? That's a complete independent. He got enough signatures to get his name on the ballot.
Really?
And they tried to fight him on it and say that the signatures weren't readable, and so he took in like 15 examples of Obama's signature and Mitt Romney's signature and showed that they were not readable either. And so his name's going to be on the Iowa ballot for president.
Good. Well, ours is just a joke, because I give Dan a hard time because he's not going to vote, and it's throwing his vote away.
But see, you could actually be on the ballot.
I don't want to. Can you imagine me as a politician? Here, let me give you an example of a politician. Phone rings. Yeah, it's Mac.
Mr. McCoy, I'm one of your constituents, and I have a pothole in front of my house.
Well, go fill it. Thanks.
That's what we need.
That'd be my deal. As a citizen, I can go out and have it done for hundreds and hundreds of your tax-paying dollars, or you can go to Menards, get a box of tar, shove it there, and it's fixed.
Yeah, that's exactly the common sense we need. That's what you bring to this race. That just got soundbited out, I guarantee it.
I go, okay, fine. So I would never...
Would you vote for him, Father Tattoo?
I'm literally going to. I'm going to take a picture of it on election day.
He's going to write me in
It'll
for
say
president.
McCoy and Coates for president right on
Well,
there.
you know, Father Tattoo, they mentioned in this story that there are actually 6 or 5 other independent candidates on the ballot
No.
besides.
I've already picked mine. He's Christian.
Oh, okay.
He's
I was
an
going to say you
American,
could research them and go for
and
one
he's
of them.
consistent.
It says it right there on the thing. Christian, American, and consistent. That's our.
There you
That's
go.
me and Mr. Coates. That's our thing. All right, so let's get down to what's important here. We're talking about domestic violence today. Amy Polpeter is one of our. We need to. What did I call you before?
I don't remember.
You're an investigative reporter.
I think that is what you called me.
An
something
investigative reporter. Yep, IR. And we asked her to investigate domestic violence in Iowa and find out what's going on, and is it getting better? Is it getting worse? Our regular panel of clowns is in the studio today. Army Brad is in along with let's just go Google it. Maddie Smith, and of course the brains of the action over there, Bob Monser at the Cat in the Hat watching
Mac, I did Google domestic violence.
Okay,
I did.
Just go Google it.
He got the official definition.
It's a Wikipedia official definition. You want to hear it?
Yeah.
All right. Domestic violence, also known as domestic abuse, spousal abuse, battering, family violence, and intimate partner violence, IPV, is defined as a pattern of abuse behaviors by one partner against another in an intimate relationship, such as marriage, dating, family, or cohabitation. Domestic violence, so defined, has many forms, including physical aggression or assault, hitting, kicking, biting, shoving, restraining, slapping, throwing objects, or threats thereof. Sexual abuse,
There you go, you're right.
Emotional abuse, controlling or domineering, intimidation, stalking, passive
All right,
covert
so
abuse.
if I said to my spouse, I'm going to hurt you, that would be considered domestic violence.
No, when
could
she
be.
hit you, that would no.
Yeah, and when she hit
TJ
you
isn't
in
gonna put up with
response, that would
but-
also be considered domestic violence.
It's one of the forms.
That's defense. Now let's not cross those two up. If he threatens her and CJ hits him, she's defending herself. It's her right as an American.
And I want you to know that my wife has hit me many times. Now, she always X's my shoulder first and then punches it. I'm serious. That's what she does. She X's my and then punches me. In fact, I'm sure I have some bruises here somewhere.
Put your pale skin away.
Sorry.
Can't you tell he's been working out?
Just because you have bruises doesn't mean you were abused.
Okay, so tell us what you've learned.
Well, one thing I wanted to bring up, I was at a conference this last August, and there was a speaker there named Sheila Lynch, and she is the mother of a gal by the name Treese Ann Lynch Moore. And Lynch was her maiden name, Moore was her married name. If you are from the Des Moines area, you may remember a few years ago, back in November of 2009, there was a big story on the news channels because there was a standoff going on. It was right after like the 5 or 6 o'clock news.
That was behind the Dolls up on Merle Hay Road, right?
I'll take your word for it. I didn't look up the exact
What-
address.
Dolls.
Was the man a former soldier?
She was in the National Guard.
Okay.
And the
It
husband
was behind the dolls. You're
Yeah.
right.
The husband was named Randy Moore, and they had been going through a divorce and separation. There had been long-term abuse of her, and he had basically kidnapped her and taken her into the apartment, and there was a standoff. I don't remember exactly at which point he shot her, but if it was before the police got there or after. But he ended up shooting her in the head and killing her. And then in the process of trying to get out with being surrounded by police, he actually shot a police officer. Didn't kill him. The police officer's okay. He was shot in the hand. But hearing the mother of this victim speak, it was rather interesting to know just what all was going on in this relationship that so many people didn't know about.
And your best friend is the guy, right?
Oh, he's not my best friend. I'm actually friends with who was his best friend, and so I know him by proxy.
Okay, all right.
So Father Tattoo is related to the batterer by proxy.
Yeah, by proxy. I apologize. I haven't talked to him since. I have no interest in it. I kind of thought he was nutty anyway.
So when did you stop beating your wife?
Well, that would have to go back to when I never started.
Okay.
Good answer. But so in this case, Sheila talked about the fact that she started noticing after her daughter got married to Randy that she was pulling away more. She wouldn't answer phone calls from family members. She asked her family members not to call her. And they later found out he was threatening her. If he found out that she had talked to a family member, he'd beat her. So she was trying to keep herself from getting beat by telling her family members, don't call me. He's checking my cell phone. He's keeping tabs of all of the phone calls that come in. She didn't know what to do because if she thought about leaving, he had talked about the fact that numerous women had had restraining orders against him in the past. And he goes, I broke all of them. Why would I bother to, stay true to this one? So she knew the restraining order wasn't going to protect her. And he said, even if I can't find you, he goes, I'll kill your father. I'll kill your brother. I know where they live. I know how to get to them. I'll get our son out of school when you aren't there and you'll never see him again. I may even kill him. And this is something that's very typical in domestic violence situations, is that this abuser uses threats of violence and threats of harm either to the victim themselves or to their family members to keep them from leaving. It can be very frustrating for all of the family members or friends of someone who's a domestic violence victim. You see the signs, you see, the fact that it's 80 degrees out and they're wearing long sleeve shirts because they're trying to cover up bruises, things like that. Wearing, lots of makeup to cover up the bruises, but they won't leave. They're in trouble, but they won't leave. And that can be very frustrating to family members and friends. Well, part of the reason is it's actually more dangerous for a domestic abuse victim when they leave their abuser. That is the highest point of danger for them. That's the most likely point where they're going to be killed or seriously injured than when they're living with the abuser. So a lot of times they stay because of fear. Fear for their own safety, fear for their family's safety. And that was happening in this case. They did work out a plan for Therese Ann to leave. They got her out of there. They had her hiding out in different people's homes so that Randy couldn't find her, and he was certainly trying to. And one of the things, for months this was going on as she was trying to get the divorce finalized and everything, one of the things that Sheila brought up that was so difficult was her daughter's name was on the lease of the apartment they owned, or that they rented. And because he wasn't paying the bills, the leaser of the apartment was coming after her and saying, look, you're on the lease. You have to pay these bills, otherwise we're going to ruin your credit. And so she had to keep paying the rent and utilities at this apartment, even though she had fled it. And they couldn't remove her from the lease because, well, if you're removed from the lease, then you're terminating your lease, and it's a 1 or 2 year lease, whatever it was. And there was no provision for the fact that she was an abuse victim, and there isn't any provision in Iowa for that. And so that was one of the things that Sheila brought up. It's another form of abuse. It's financial abuse. And one of the things that many of the organizations will point out, that's one of the reasons why victims stay. They can't make it financially on their own because they've never been allowed to hold a job. They've never been allowed to have their own savings account or checking account. They don't have their own money. Therefore, they can't get away because if they have kids or anything like that, they have no financial support once they leave their abuser. And so that's one of the ways they keep them in their house, I guess. The abusers keep them in their house. And so there's all sorts of things that people don't think about if they haven't been in that abuse relationship that can be brought up. Another thing that they didn't realize was happening after they got Therese Ann out, Randy was renting several different cars. Every couple of days he'd change what rental car he had, and he was following her. They were watching for the vehicle they knew he owned. Right. But he wasn't driving that because he knew that they would see it. And so they had no idea that he was following her. And they had no way they had a restraining order against him, but the problem is restraining orders are only good if they can be enforced.
Correct.
And quite honestly, in Iowa, there's really no way to enforce them. It's up to either the victim to keep vigilance of who's around them or for the abuser to, abide by them, which doesn't happen very often. Usually they're more of a challenge to the abuser. Sheila was bringing up the fact, though, that there are 5 states that have come up with ankle bracelets that once a restraining order is issued against somebody, the person has to wear that ankle bracelet. And it actually, the victim can put in normal places they attend, schools, grocery stores, things like that they normally would be at. If that abuser gets within a certain distance of that area, it sends a text or a warning signal to the victim to let them know, hey, your abuser might be in the area. And so that's one thing they can do to try to, and Iowa doesn't have that capability.
The 5 states that have this, Amy, there has to be more than just a restraining order filed, right? There has to be some type of evidence of domestic abuse.
Typically, yeah, they've gone to court to show that there's evidence of abuse, there's evidence of danger to the victim.
Yeah.
Which that's typically required just to get a restraining order. You can't just walk in and say, I want a restraining order on Maddie because he's British. I can't do that. I'd have to show some sort of history of abuse there.
I think being British is enough.
I was going to say that might be a good idea.
I don't know if the courts would agree with me on that, but...
but I'll tell you this, that I have witnessed or been aware of one-on-one cases where people have gotten restraining orders on somebody and they're not deserved.
Yeah.
But the person knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, and in that case of an ankle, I think the ankle bracelet is a great idea.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
put
and it really...
Put an ankle bracelet and we've got this thing figured out.
Well, and it also protects the abuser because it keeps that victim from going and saying, well, look, he's showing up here. He's showing up here. He's showing up here. Well, now...
No, he's not.
Yeah, what if he's not actually showing up there?
Yeah, right.
So it actually does protect that abuser if they are trying to be in compliance with their protective order.
Yeah. Mess up wearing shorts for the summer, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it probably kind of would.
Well,
All right.
And it's a really awkward deal because I was with Randy the Saturday before this happened, and he sold his motorcycle, which he loved. It was his life, and he sold it and his other kid's bike for no apparent reason. He had a lot of cash on him. My wife said, this guy's nuts.
Yeah.
And then 4 days later, he shot his ex-wife in the face. Yeah.
He was nuts.
All right. When we come back, Amy will continue to give us some of the amazing statistics about domestic abuse here in Iowa. Maddie Smith is in the house along with Army Brad, Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat watching the chat, and, of course, Father Tattoo live here on The Truth. 99.3 KTIA, Iowa.
You guys can chime in.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
It's like they want to get hit.
Need a body shop?
Minor Wreck Express saves you time and money.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
if you sit in the back pew or the front pew. It's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so call 855-244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
All right, 22 before the top, Salem Radio Network News, and then True Blue with the host, Michael Mudloff, from 4 to 4:30 from Westkirk Presbyterian Church here in Des Moines, actually Urbandale. Amy Polpeter is our guest today, and she is our... I just said you were an investigative reporter. I need to give you something jazzier than that. You're our senior... I know you're not that old. Expert.
Expert?
No,
in
'cause you're-
investigative reporting?
Yeah, no. I'll work on it, okay?
You can work on that.
I'm thinking what Geraldo would be called, because you're like an Geraldo Rivera. So I need you to find an old safe someplace and tell me somebody's buried in it so we can open it.
There you go.
All right, but Amy has been, on a serious note, Amy has been investigating domestic violence in the state of Iowa and has come up with some amazing facts and figures. And I think the one that surprises me the most is 85% of domestic violence is done by men.
Yeah. In Iowa in 2006, it was 81% was perpetrated by men.
81?
Yes.
So 4 out of 5, basically.
Sure.
My question would be, how much of that, I would think that men would have a higher level of non-reporting.
And I think that's probably true, because if you think
the guy's
about
not
it...
gonna, well, my wife is hitting me, I'm just going to take it. And I think there's a lot of abuse that never, ever gets reported. And
Yes.
I think the men are less likely. And there's not even our society is actually fine with that the guy, you can take a hit. Mac was joking about his wife hitting him, but there's some guys out there that take beatings, and that's just not a big deal. It didn't hurt me, but it's still wrong.
I think with men, too, a lot of times it's even more, it's emotional. Women,
Oh, absolutely.
women are manipulative and emotionally abusive to the man, and not necessarily physically, because, most male-female pairs, the man's might be able to hold off an attack from a woman, but he's not going to be able to stop her from what she says and what she does. And I actually know a guy who was in a very abusive relationship, and it was all emotional and verbal.
Was it reported?
It was never reported. I don't know if he even realizes how emotional.
He probably doesn't even think that
or how abusive it was.
He doesn't even probably think that, that's not really abuse,
Yeah.
And really it was, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, it definitely was. So, yeah, I think that there's a lot of it that's not reported. And even when there is physical abuse, it kind of goes with the whole male sexual assault issue of reporting, too. How many guys are going to be able to admit, yeah, my wife slaps me around to the point where I have bruises and stuff like that? They feel like it's taking away their masculinity to admit it.
And I think our society tells a boy not to hit girls.
But they don't tell a girl not to hit boys.
And it's okay if you do that.
Yeah.
Really?
I think so.
So my question that goes from here is, what does the church do about this stuff? Where can the church be a help?
I think the church can address it, for one. Violence in general doesn't often get addressed in the churches, so I think just addressing it, for one. I think for anybody in a church, if you see someone showing some signs, I had a friend who got married to a guy. All of a sudden, she quit coming to church. She moved out into the country. There was lots of signs that there was some abuse going on there. She was scared to talk to people, scared to come to church because he would get upset at her, things like that. At that point, if the friend can't speak or step in, maybe a pastor needs to step in and try to talk to her and say, hey, can you come come up with a reason to have them come into the office and try to have a conversation, see if they feel like they're safe in their house.
Can I ask
type
a
of thing.
question about, is it generally, are there warning signs before people get married? Because you look at some of these situations and you think they can't suddenly become, well, maybe they can. Are there not? There must be some warning signs that they can.
I think there are some warning signs before they get married, but I think sometimes it ramps up after they get married. They see that marriage certificate as a property slip.
And I think a lot of times when you're in the the love phase, the honeymoon phase, he's not going to he'll stop doing that.
Yeah.
And then they ignore it, and it was there, and they just think that it'll improve, and it actually just gets worse.
Yeah.
Because maybe if you identified signs, or people were better educated to identify signs before they got married. I mean, seriously, like things like that. What were you saying about? And you don't think of it in terms of verbal abuse, but That's where it heads. That's where verbal abuse is heading.
Well, a lot of this stuff you got to remember too. The first year of marriage is really rough, so you really get to know the person because beforehand you're dating them, you're spending limited amounts of time. This is really now all your free time is spent with this person, and that's when you really uncover this stuff. So
Find out the real person.
Yeah,
you see the real person.
Me and my wife had an adjustment phase. I didn't beat her, but we had an adjustment phase for the first year where it was a rough year that first year. You know, we got used to each other. We got used to boundaries and stuff that we didn't have as single individuals. And a lot of this, and Randy and Teresa Ann were only married like a few months. It wasn't.
Yeah,
very
they
long.
weren't married very long.
Yeah, it was
before he started really abusing her.
Yeah, it was an odd. As it all unfolded, we all looked back and go, "Wow!"
Mm-hmm.
But as it was happening, I mean, Randy said, "Oh, my truck's at the shop," and he had a rental car with us. I was there that Saturday night. We went to a friend's birthday party together that we mutually knew, and he was driving a rental car. Nobody thought anything of it.
Yeah.
Our conversation today is not a happy one, but it's a necessary one, and that's one of the things that we do on The View from a Pew. We talk about those things that make you uncomfortable. Amy Polpeter is our guest. It's about domestic violence. Maddie Smith is in the house along with Army Brad and Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat. I'm trying to think of the name of the movie with Julia Roberts.
Sleeping with the Enemy.
Sleeping with the Enemy. To me, that is the classic case of this type of person you're thinking of.
Absolutely.
It is not the white trash, pink spandex,
wearing the white beater T-shirt.
Yeah, that's not who it is.
No.
It's a calculated, educated control freak.
Yes.
Who probably, because he's a control freak, has a lot of money in his means because they've controlled what they've done in their life. And for those of you that haven't watched that movie, Sleeping with a Stranger?
Sleeping with the Enemy.
Sleeping with the Enemy. Do it. I mean,
Yeah.
it'll get you.
It's a creepy movie, but it very much shows the type of domestic violence that you can see.
And I was so proud of the character that Julia Roberts played in that movie, how she planned to get away from him.
Yeah.
And really only messed up one little way. But it involved family members. Remember, her mother was involved in this. It was about new life and feeling safe and.
Yep.
Ooh, creepy movie.
It is creepy.
He would always, her husband would always put the cans just perfectly in the cupboards and make the towels on the towel rack perfect.
Yes.
And so how he began to stalk her and screw with her head is. He'd do that, right?
Yeah.
And then she'd mess it up, and the next time she'd come back,
it'd be all lined up again.
Towels would be lined up again, and the cans would be perfect. You should watch it. It's a creepy movie.
It is a creepy movie.
All right. So what can we? I'm a dad. What do I do if I believe my daughter is involved in domestic violence and the lines of communication are basically shut off? Meaning, hey, I haven't seen you. No, I'm okay, Dad. But you don't act. Yeah, Dad, I'm okay. And it's that okay. Just leave it alone. They're doing.
I think the biggest thing you can do at that point is respect them. Realize that they are the expert on the abuse that they're occurring, because they're the ones who know exactly what it is. But try to get, at least in one of those sentences, get in, if you ever need anything or if you ever want to talk, you can call me.
Right.
And I won't judge you. I won't fly off the handle and react the way I want to as a dad.
Right.
I will listen to you and I will respect whatever decisions. And hopefully eventually they will come and talk to you. And they may not be ready to leave at that point. And that's okay. But it's hard for us as the bystanders to say, it's okay if you're not ready to leave. I want to help you when you are. And it's important for them to really plan for that, to make sure they have a bag somewhere. Maybe if they can slip out someday and have a bag of the stuff that they're going to need, medications and clothes and stuff, that they can leave with a friend or a family member. Yeah. Have access to money. Have a set of houses or a set of people that they know they can go to and hide out at. It's having all of that lined up. And it can take time to get that there, so you do need to be respectful if they aren't ready to leave.
All right, Bob Montserrat is going to take over in this chair. I will see you Monday as the conversation on domestic violence with Amy Polpeter continues right here on The View from a Pew on 99.3 KTIA, Iowa.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
It's like they want to get hit.
Need a body shop?
Minor Wreck Express saves you time and money.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Come on now, let's reason together. The phone lines are open, and it's your voice we want to hear. So call 855-244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
Yes, welcome back. This is Bob Montserrat, Cat in a Hat. I'm sitting in for Mac on this last segment. We're playing tag team host.
And you're it.
And I'm it. So I've switched seats. So I'm sitting in front of the McCoy versus or McCoy Coates for president sign. So there's going to be a gap between the other two guys, Brad and Maddie. Anyway, we've been talking to Amy Pohl-Peter, who's been a guest today, and domestic violence. And Brad, you had a comment that you wanted to make.
I agree 100% with the person being abused. You want to, as a parent or a friend or whatever, you want to be able to support them and let them know that when they make that choice, hey, we're here for you. We're going to help you however you can. And I think as a father, that's something we need to do all the time anyway, to know that no matter what the problem, whether it's violence or whatever it might be, to be there. But I know that I'm different than most, but as a father figure in my life, I made sure that the boys had, when it came to the girls that were in my household, that the guys had a fear of me that would stop them in their tracks. I don't think if just because they're married that fear needs to go, and maybe fear is the wrong word, but a respect that they were as nervous about what would happen to them from my standpoint, that you abuse my daughter, you don't have to worry about her calling the police. You need to worry about me calling the police, because I'm not going to allow that to happen. And I think we need more of that as a society.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but there's another factor. I mean, you've been in the military for 28 years, and you probably have guns hanging around your house and stuff like that. I'm just saying that you're just an intimidating guy. Some people may not be that way.
Well, that's a good case for gun ownership right there, Bob.
Yeah, I imagine it would be, and I'm not an anti-gunner for sure. But I hear you, and I know what you're saying, that you...
And I think our society has caused men to want to take a step back. And you see in our society, if it's right to step in and say, don't do that. And
yeah. I think the biggest thing to think about, too, though, is there are times that just you trying to exert that respect from the male partner, that'll actually cause him to abuse her when he goes home.
But see, that if it's...
Hopefully they never
at
find
the wrong
a guy
point,
like that.
but if that's because if the father, the male figure is strong from the very beginning, that boy is, if he is that type of person, he's not going to be in her life for very long, because he's going to say, oh, this is.
And that's the thing too, is it's, like Max said, these people don't look like the creepy, wife batterer. They oftentimes, you don't realize that behavior until they're already invested.
Right.
And I mean, I think it's right to be supportive and to try to teach the people that are around your daughters to support or to respect you and respect them, or fear you for that matter. And I know I had some uncles that attempted that as well. I mean, they pulled boyfriends aside, and one of them was briefly out of prison when he pulled the boyfriend aside and did say, something to I don't know what he said to the guy, but I know the guy was quite upset about it. He never liked that uncle again. And interestingly, though, that's the guy who ended up raping me. So
maybe your uncle
that threat
needed
didn't
to threaten
help
him a little bit more, though. Or maybe you should have taken a...
It was several years later, but yeah, it was, that threat didn't stop him. He wasn't scared of him. Of course, the uncle was back in prison by then, too.
No.
So.
Yeah, but it may have protected the one that he was dealing with at the time. But that behavior is still within that person, and they find an easier target, or to say so, in that sense. But, spiritual speaking, obviously we're talking about a condition where, God is not even a consideration in these people's lives that are doing this kind of thing. So for those that are believers that have a kid or somebody they know in that situation, I mean, if you can't do anything within the natural, then you have to go and deal with it in the spiritual aspect. And I'm sure, and I know you do that.
Sure. Yeah.
And many of us here will do that too. That we say, okay, Lord, I don't know the answers, but I'm coming to you to help direct how we should deal with these kind of things. And a lot of times it's going to mean dealing with law enforcement.
It's tough today. I'm listening to this. You just get angry thinking about.
Yeah. It's hard not to get angry.
It's like, what's going through my head is like, if it happened to my daughter, just get some lads I know and just sort him out. But that's what you think.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. I mean, that's what I know that, but it's a bit primitive to think like that, but that's what I'm thinking in my head. I know, my stepmother in her first marriage was beaten up. And again, it's interesting, you see that and when you met, and again, he has turned his life around. But I remember the first time I met him, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
So this is this guy.
It's like this is an abuser. Yeah.
I said to my stepmother, it looks like you could beat him up.
Now,
that was strange to me.
Now, Matt, did you say you would take them out?
Well, no, you just feel like that. Just not me personally.
I wanted to make sure.
You feel like that though. Just get some. I know that.
That is something.
I know that's something at home. We've talked about that. We've had a situation at home, and like it's been almost like, you're that angry that you
sure. That's what
they need a good sorting out. The people that do this, and again, but that's just a natural human. But
that's something that I was going to touch on too. When I was listening to Tracy Ann Moore's story by her mom, it made me think of the Dixie Chicks song "Goodbye Earl," which is about domestic violence, where they take out the abuser. And I've never liked that song. It's a catchy song, and I do like country songs, but I've never liked it because it spreads this message of vigilantism and taking the law into your own hands. And that's something I would caution people from doing, whether you're the family member, the friend, or the victim yourself, because it can be so dangerous. These guys will take matters back into their own hands. They won't hesitate to kill somebody if they need to. And so that's just, and from a Christian standpoint, that's totally not the way to go about it.
Oh.
Hey, Bob, can I do the What Did We Learn Today?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so today on View from Pew, we talked with Amy about domestic abuse. We talked about a situation that some of us are familiar with, and I thought it'd be appropriate to read out over the air the number for the Iowa Domestic Abuse Hotline.
Very good.
The 1-800-942-0333. If you're being abused, call the number. They actually, on their site, tell you not to go to it on your computer. So it's 1-800-942-0333. And talk to your pastor. This is something the body of Christ is amazing at. This is what it's designed for, is to come around individuals who are under these circumstances and to protect and care for and love and undo the damage. And this is only available in the body of Christ. And so as we close out today, this is a serious situation, and you don't always know. I can tell you firsthand, I had no idea this guy was capable of this.
Sure.
It shocked me to death. There you go, Bob.
Yeah, thanks, Dan, for putting that number out there. 1-800-942-0333, Iowa Domestic Abuse Hotline. And of course, we would always encourage you to go. And we were talking about how we want our natural inclination is to take somebody out, but you need to be here to help those that are affected, help those that are hurting, to make a difference. So, and of course, never forget, the first line of defense is prayer.
Yep.
That's where you need to go to the Lord first to find direction as to which way you should go. All right, 99.3 KTIA. Bye-bye.
Yeah, but she gave a very one-sided speech. Teresa wasn't perfect. There's a whole other side. I'm not excusing Randy. There's no excuse. The guy frickin', as far as I'm concerned, deserves the electric chair. But she had her own.